Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody that wants to share some love. Every little bit is appreciated. And, of course, the StreamYard link is there for anybody that wants to join the panel. And we're going to talk about the Asylum again and all these bitch-ass slaves. Karen went off on Ken and no one got arrested. We'll see. We'll see. It's the outcome of things as we are daily involved with these kind of events typically. What are your views on it? Do you see the same insanity that I see in this world of a socialized psychopathic society? Hitler's willing executioners. So let's take a look. The first one I want to look at tonight, though, aside from the insanity, is something about Shaquille O'Neal, and I think it's important to grasp this concept. So please pay attention, folks.
And the first thing I did was incorporate my family.
What business you started after we?
First thing I did was incorporate C.O.W.A.R.D.S. And then I put my mom on salary and put my dad on salary. I got him an office and got him a car, and they were so proud because the best day of my life was, how much you make in the Army? You only make $60,000. Now you make $500,000 a year. What? You start crying. Mom, how much you want to make? You make $750 a year.
Because instead of giving it to the IRS, you're giving it to your family and you can write it off.
Right. That's awesome. Genius.
Right.
You understand that? That's the tax situation. You're already giving a gift. You're gifting it. There's no law against who you have to gift it to or who you can't gift it to. It's literally known as a gift. By that transfer, you're the one that grants it. Understand what trust law is about and why it's so important to understand contracts and business concepts.
I learned about business not from college. I learned about business from a book called The Dummy's Guide to Starting Your Own Business. And the first thing I did was incorporate my family.
What business you started after we?
First thing I did was incorporate C.O.W.A.R.D.S. And then I put my mom on salary and put my dad on salary.
And so when he put his mom on salary and his dad on salary, he created a merger. He created a merger of the estates. Mom and dad's estate merges when they get have that consecrate their wedlock. If you want it in proper terms, consecrating the wedlock. Okay, that's the merger of the ethereal estates, the godly estate. He turned around and just did the same thing for the commercial realm, and that's a protection for him. Guess what? He's got mom and dad both merged into the estate that he's got control of, and that's three or more witnesses. That's all it takes. For crying out loud, people, just two other people, you can come together. We don't have to make these massive societies or cultures to get out of this system that's being used to control you.
I got him an office and got him a car, and they were so proud because the best day of my life was, how much you make in the Army? You only make $60,000. Now you make $500,000 a year. What? You start crying. Mom, how much you want to make? You make $750 a year.
Because instead of giving it to the IRS, you're giving it to your family. And
You're giving it to your family instead of the IRS, and you can use that as a write-off.
write it off.
Right. That's awesome. Genius.
Right.
So think about that stuff, folks. Now, the next one is an important issue as it relates to what a lot of us are doing in this research and everything that extends to the auditing community, period. Because that's what research is itself. It's auditing. Okay, we're going through and we're collecting information in a specific type of venue. It's still an audit. We're investigating the information. Okay. This one here says Tampa Police Department says First Amendment audits serve to bait officers. In a sort of context, you could say that. And that's because it's an investigation to find out if they're competent or not. In that is the only way it can be extended as to bait an officer, unless you're going out of the line, outside of the bounds of that journalist aspect. And this is where I want to impute that even though I have a right to express myself in a freedom of speech, again, the greater right is the people's right to know. In that, in your freedom of speech and freedom of expression, you have to be steadfast and stern in criticizing yourself to make sure that yourself is speaking truth.
With police officers caught on video, is it exercising a constitutional right, or is it baiting law enforcement?
People are showing up with video cameras near places like military bases and police barracks. And when questioned about what they are doing, 8 on Your Side senior investigative reporter Steve Andrews tells us this can get a little heated at times.
Yeah, well, it was just quite a confrontation outside MacDill Air Force Base quite recently. The people behind the cameras call them First Amendment audits. Well, these confrontations have the potential to get out of hand.
I'm sorry?
Am I being detained or am I free to go?
You are definitely being detained, yes.
What law did I break?
Do you have some type of
What law did I break?
You see the identification.
What law did I break?
It was August 26th. According to Tampa Police, MacDill Air Force Base asked officers to check out someone videotaping outside the facility.
Why are you taking pictures of military base?
Is it against the law?
Yes, sir, it is.
It is.
Attorney Luke LaRoe watched this video with me. He claims it's not illegal to videotape a military base.
I think that from a general analysis, videotaping any government installation, any government person would be protected by the First Amendment.
Google First Amendment audit. Videos pop up like this one, where a New York State trooper confronts a person videotaping the compound.
I want to know who you are right now.
Or this one, where correctional officers confront a man flying a drone with a camera over prison walls.
News guy in my face. Why are you up here filming a military installation?
Why can't I not?
Why are you doing it?
Why can't I?
Why are you?
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 See, and that's a perfect example right there, folks. The one is asking, why are you? The other one is asking, why can't you? The one that has to prove why he can't doesn't have evidence of why he can't, so the only thing he can come back with is, why are you? You see the fallacy and the insanity? This is socialized psychopathy. These people are supposedly thought to be normal by the general masses, who are supposedly thought to be normal. I'm telling you, most people are fucking insane.
Why can't I?
Why are
In my opinion, of course.
you?
Why can't I?
Why are we standing up here doing this stupid, see?
You tell me you.
See? Exactly. You raised a perfect point. Why are we standing out here doing this stupid shit? Because you, the one with the obligation to prove that I can't be doing this, can't do that. You're not coming with any evidence. You're trying to say you can enforce it, but there's no law.
While some call this a first...
Actually, there is, if you want to call it a law. It's the Constitution's first, the first article of the Bill of Rights, in that freedom of expression, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freely assemble peacefully, and to redress the government for grievance. How do you expect us to be able to redress a government for grievance and expect us to be able to bring forth evidence if you don't allow us to gather such information? It's fucking insane.
Amendment audit, the Tampa Police called it baiting. An email from Department spokesman Steve Hegarty says it's become more frequent because it's easier than ever to capture anything on video, and that video has a life on YouTube, and it captures interest among TV reporters.
Well, it certainly appears to be baiting, but in the exercise of those constitutional rights, You have a right to bait the police. You have a right to test their restraint. You have a right to test their knowledge of the Constitution.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. See, they get their just powers from the consent of the people. That consent alone tells you that we have such authority of oversight. You got it from us. The problem, again, in my opinion, of course, is that the large majority of the population is fucking social psychopaths, being deemed capable to socialize well enough to allow the commercial system to run, but not know enough how to stop it because they think it's the commercial system they got to stop. They think it's somebody else's fault, or they think it's the fault of some fiction, when in fact it's your own fault. People refusing to be self-critical.
Efforts to contact the man behind the camera were not successful. At the conclusion of the video, police and MacDill authorities determined he had not violated the law. Now the question is, was he illegally detained or not?
Was he or wasn't he?
Good question. I think if he was, he would have filed a complaint with TPD, but he hasn't.
Well, with all that we've seen through the years, I mean, you would think it would be only natural or at least understandable to question somebody who's standing outside Central Command with a camera.
You know, you would think so. And according to Luke LaRoe, especially...
No, you wouldn't think so. Again, these people are fucking insane. These people that use the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech to run their very news platform. How dare you?
Since TPD was contacted by MacDill, another government agency, to go check this guy out. Now, late this afternoon, TPD told me, based on the video, Chief Ward has initiated an internal affairs investigation of this incident.
Thank you very much. It'll be interesting to follow up and see what that IA reveals.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Yes, it would. And another aspect of that is, you notice they said that he hasn't followed up with the claim. That's part of the problem I want to touch on here real quick, is that when we end up with a situation where you're getting involved in these things, like I see a lot of these auditors do, and talking about pressing charges. Do you really know how to do that in those courts? See, this is one of those things that comes to competency. If you don't understand, again, realize the fallacy in those false threats. First of all, if you don't know how to sue, then don't make a baseless threat thinking that someday you're going to sue and that's the threat. No, you got to know how to sue in order to make that threat, so that when it does happen, you do file that report and you do make your claim appropriately, and not by hiring an attorney to make a representation in an administrative court. See, you're not supposed to be in those courts. Again, these people operate under bonds, and you're supposed to go after the bond. The bond is part of that contractual record. You're not suing the people. You're supposed to be suing the bond, and you do that privately. It's a private bond. So let's get on to the next one. And this goes to our own idiocy. Well, like I said, when we come into this stuff and don't know what we're doing, and of course, this isn't really somebody that I would class as being in a rank of any of us researchers. He's obviously not a researcher. He's just one of the bitch-ass slaves. Pay attention. Do not walk around doing this stupid kind of shit like this.
He was recently arrested after attending a Zoom hearing for driving with a suspended license while driving his car.
Mr. Harris, are you driving?
Actually, I'm pulling into my doctor's office, actually.
This is a driver while license suspended,
That is correct, Your Honor.
and he was just driving,
Oops.
and he didn't.
Oops. See, when you do your research, they can't use that kind of stuff against you because they would now have to make the claim or provide the evidence. They would now have to provide the evidence that the man is driving, which is a commercial term, and that he has a record of people as passengers or property as carriage that he is taken on for hire to transport from point A to point B, and not a traveler known in the code as a non-resident of the state.
Have a license. So defendant's bound.
So if his license is suspended, then my gosh, it says he's precluded from performing commercially. And now you're going to charge him for driving, which is commercial, of course, saying that he's doing something under license while the license was suspended. Again, you have to prove by record and not some presumption. Otherwise, that proves that you're presuming he's guilty already from the bench. Don't play your fucking games with me. That would be a whole different situation if I was sitting in that automobile.
Bond is revoked.
Like I said before, when they got me for possession, sixth offense, and took my truck and suspended my license, I traveled my happy ass right up into that fucking parking lot every day I went to court.
In this matter, defendant is turning himself into the Washington County Jail by 6 p.m. today.
Oops.
Ann Arbor District Judge Cedric.
See, when you don't have the knowledge, that's all you can do is go, oh, God. Because you haven't gone, oh, God, enough. You haven't gone to counsel with God enough. In my opinion, of course.
Simpson stunned by the actions of defendant Corey Harris and revoked his bond. This is today's edition of What Were You Thinking?
Yeah. Honorable J. Cedric Simpson, I'd like to know what the fuck were you thinking? As a neighbor of this young man, if I can find out the information, which I may just well, I have a duty to report a felony called treason.
Oh, it's like it didn't even dawn on him.
Right.
He's like, oh, yeah.
Suspended license. Oh, I shouldn't be driving while talking to the judge. Too late.
Too late.
Yeah.
Busted.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Summer is right around the corner. It's time to start.
See, and that goes to the competency of the newscasters as well. If you're going to be putting out news, then you have to know these terms and conditions as well. And when you don't, you become part of that bitch-ass slave society. Social psychopaths. Hitler's willing executioners. Willing to judge people from the newscast room. Just like Honorable J. Cedric Simpson from the bench. Seditious motherfuckers. Oh, excuse my language. And that's just my opinion. Fake news, bitches. Because you're fake. Because you don't know the truth. Babbling idiots. And one of those things that's been up when it comes to these First Amendment audits is the city councils and county commission meetings. We're seeing a lot more of those. And this is Lane Myers from Tucson, Arizona. And I believe his wife is part of the federal prosecution team, part of the federal prosecutors. and he's doing a great job down there in Tucson. But this is how ridiculous it gets, and I want you to understand. Well, I'll wait until after the video to tell you something that you would help explain this and put you on your seat when you hear the details.
This is city business in action.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Boo! Boo! Boo!
Okay. So the whole room starts clapping, and he's the only one that says boo. Okay? But saying boo, there is no law against it. Yet this heathen bitch, again, excuse my language, but this is how insane it becomes when we have community leaders that are doing this shit.
Those booing, we're going to have to ask to remove you if you continue that.
Boo!
We have to ask to remove you, sir. Continue interrupting. Yeah.
If they can clap, I can boo. It's that simple.
If they can clap, I can boo. It's that simple. Absolutely right. Bitch got in her feelers right away because he said boo.
The last one is a surprise one, and I want to invite my colleague from the council to join me up here.
Don't touch me. I don't. Are you going to remove me? I dare you. The mayor did not ask me to leave. Don't touch me. Back up. No, no, no. I'm actually sure.
And he's correct. No one asked him to leave. They said they would remove him if he didn't stop and quit interrupting the meeting.
Sir, you've been asked to leave by the mayor.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you were.
Hey, city attorney, if they can clap, I can boo. Get your mind right.
The mayor asked you.
The mayor don't have that authority.
Yes, she does.
No, she doesn't.
Yes, she does.
See, they believe the mayor has the authority to arbitrarily, by their emotions, just create bullshit laws because they think they have that power. Everybody seems to think the mayor has that kind of... No, they don't.
Thank you. Or what? You're going to arrest me for trespassing? Then do it. Let's go. Come outside and give me the ticket. Let's go. Come on, give me the ticket. Rankin, you'll see the lawsuit tomorrow. Don't touch me. Do not touch me. I am voluntarily leaving. Do not fucking put your hands on me.
Absolutely right. Sua sponte. Constitutional issue. Constitutional issue. Freedom of speech, first and foremost. Fourth Amendment. Right to be secure in persons, houses, papers, and effects. That doesn't have any limitation on where, private or public.
For any reason, I'm leaving like you asked me. Don't fucking touch me ever again. Thank you. Come here, Williams.
All right, so this is
Get it out.
the last meeting.
I'm not giving you my ID. Arrest me right now. No. Arrest me right now for trespassing. Thank you. There you go. Perfect.
So this was that Monday night city council meeting in Tucson. And let me get my background here. Monday night's meeting in Tucson City Council, and they arrested him. And basically what it is before the meeting even started, there was some banter going on back and forth because he came to the meeting with a camera and he was at the front of the line, and people wanted to start voicing their Karen and Ken bullshit, right? So certain people getting involved, acting like Kens and Karens, calling him a Ken or a Karen, trying to claim he's the instigator by bringing a camera alone. He was not interacting with these people at all. He was filming the area, video recording the area, and when he came up to the actual meeting entrance, he started videoing the sign in the front. That's when people started piping up. And they just didn't stop. And while they were inside the city council meeting room before the meeting started, people were booing him. They didn't do anything about that. They didn't call that any kind of criminal act. And see, that's the thing about being trespassed, folks. Same with reasonable articulable suspicion. In order to trespass somebody, if they're justly within their means of being where they're at and interacting the way they are, there's no criminal act. You can't trespass them. So for your public accommodation places in public that are running private businesses, your public accommodation is open to everybody within reason. That includes such people that aren't members of your association, that are actually foreign and can assert their First Amendment right, versus your policy of your feelers. See, that charter you have to run that private business says that you are organized under the laws of the United States and you have to abide by their code. You're the one that signed that contract. And greetings, Hadassah. How you doing tonight?
Good. How are you, honey?
Good, good. Working on it anyway.
What's going on? I just stepped in, so I heard something about a judge, and yeah.
Yeah, Judge J. Cedric Simpson telling a guy on Zoom video that he was driving. Judge, jury, and executioner on the bench, and he ain't supposed to be doing that. That's treason. Just because the mass bitch-ass slaves in this sociological psychopathic experiment don't see that doesn't mean it's not there. And
was practicing law from the bench, which is against their bond.
Yeah, he can't charge people from the bench.
Well, it's interesting. You should really look at. Have you ever heard of a website called? Right. Who? Have you ever heard of a website called suretypedia.com? You should go check it out. You want to find all their fun little bonds and stuff that they. Yeah, I found out one of the municipalities that it's been just a pain in my ass. Their police officers, quote unquote, are actually bonded as contract security officers.
Yep. And as you see, Sean, great to see you, Sean. Long time. How you been, brother? The Foreign Corporate Bankrupt Contract Charter, known as the Constitution. Absolutely. And that's where a lot of people misunderstand what that Constitution really is, because they fail to recognize the superseding documentation in the International Forum. And that is the Constitution of the Universal Postal Union. And in its first article, it says freedom of transit is guaranteed throughout the entire territory of the Union. Now, you would be surprised that transit is quite similar to transportation and traffic and everything, where you're going from point A to point B. You are transitioning as from one position to another position. So we really have to
vehicles.
We really have to get that language and how it works. How you doing tonight? Iman? We're not hearing you, sister.
Greetings, brother.
There you are. Good to
Can you
see you.
hear me now?
Yep, we got you.
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm all is well though, but I've been petitioning. I don't know. I know you were on almost a year or so ago when all that went down. And I still feel within my heart somebody is is concealing information on oneself, because just as you were talking about the trespass, how can one be trespassed against, and then it's talking about monuments and military funeral plots and stuff like that, when if no one is even in that area to even do that, how can that be done?
Right, and you'll notice those are the only areas where they restrict the rite of passage and rite of portage. Everywhere else, including those private businesses that are supposed to be accommodating the public, are actually considered safe harbors. That's what contracting is all about, is safe harbor, to make sure that you're not trading with an enemy.
Unless you're going into that safe harbor unbonded without notice and no one knows how you operate. Then you're
Right,
seen as a pirate, aren't you?
right. That's the law of the flag.
So
Mm-hmm.
if someone, so if you're, so let me ask a question. If you're on public grounds, and you are visiting someone because they invited you to come, um where they are, and you're visiting, and then all of a sudden you're falsely um removed from there without any notice, without anything, but they know that the other man or woman knows that you were already there invited, but
Yeah,
how, but in that falsely accused, they kidnapped you, and then they defamed your name and your character. So it seems like outside
Do you
of
have an
all of that,
invitation?
they're still trying to defame one's name and character by keeping one from being able to do what is desired to do for the truth to come out. So if they don't want the truth to come out, then how do you realize who's behind it all?
exactly. And that's why I say you
Do you
got to
have
learn
an
how to do your
invitation?
research. And in my
Okay.
research, I found that the conveying of the nationality of a United States citizen as a United States business is so that we can be, as that guest, so invited by the United States, but instead of doing business as invited by the United States, I'm just on tour at my pleasure. I'm not here to do business. I wasn't born to do business. That's the part that's not recognized.
You're a tourist.
Everybody's born, and that enumeration at birth assumes that they're going to grow up and do business.
Well,
You're a
Keith, the other
tourist,
question
right?
I have, if
For
some
pleasure.
child or some boy or girl, their parents were trying to um give their children or young ones or a better opportunity, and they thought that moving in a certain area they would give them a better opportunity for the future as far as education and stuff like that, and they involved in applying for different things when the children was unaware what was going on, and then the children still grows up not knowing what was going on, and now they're being heavily attacked because they're now realizing everything that their their parents may have done was not supposed to be, because they were already of the land and for the land. And I think I really feel within myself the documentations that everybody's supposed to get when they're moving people across the lands. They give them this green card. It's all based on immigration, and and stealing of the land, because my family on both sides have a lot of land, and that's why I believe right now the tax that's been attacked on me is based on my inheritance. And that's why the truth has to come out. That's what I learned
Bloodlines,
within
honey.
Yeah.
myself.
Because when you say land, trespass, right? When you trespass, one of the biggest tricks that lawyers actually use is if somebody, is doing or like lodging a complaint or filing a suit against them, they actually do a notice of liability and trespass against their body because their body is land. And that's how we're seeing a lot of times. In the taxes, your blood, right? And they keep very good track of those bloodlines. You want to find out a way, or if there's any kind of link there, you can actually go and petition or send a request to the Mormon Church in Utah for all of your hereditary, history documents, all that. Or you can go to the library and have a librarian help you. Librarians know a lot more than people think.
Well, sister, the only reason,
Yeah.
not to interrupt you, but while, I wasn't warehoused, they I don't know what they did, but I know they're all doing I know it's a large coven, and I know they're all doing witchcraft and all of that stuff because something unusual happened while I was in there, and then I was taken down to like an infirmary, and they did draw blood from me, which I didn't even realize until a few days. My finger kept being sore. It was my tip of my finger was so sore, and I wondered, why is my finger sore? And that's when I noticed they removed um they extracted, blood from myself from the finger. And that's how I knew. So I don't know what it is, but I know everything that I've tried to do for myself, and I'm not giving up for the Most High God. But I always pray every day the truth to come out, and I'm working towards even documents I created. Parts of it are vanishing down to one page, and I'm seeing what's going on, but
The
no
more
one else
credence,
around me
though,
is seeing. Huh?
the more credence we give that, like, because when we get a thought in our head like that, and we give it life. So one of the bad things that we do is, and I'm horrible about this, a lot of us are, is we make a mistake or something, or we find something that we think, that's the cause of it. We let that little thing grow in our head to the point where it literally, we give it life. We animate it
Yep.
just through our thoughts.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
manifestation in the
Don't
negative instead of the positive.
Okay, so
Yep.
but I'm not believing in anything that's occurring right now, and I'm just believing in myself. I know who I am. I know I'm not there to attack anyone. I know I'm not there, and I'm still true to myself the way I've always been, and I'm not going to change because nobody's going to make me or allow me to change because I have perfect love within myself for myself and my fellow man and my people. And
Yep.
any people who are standing up 10 toes down for the righteousness of the Most High God, and for everyone to stand up for themselves. I'm
Yep.
just saying what's being concealed right now. I know certain things are being done because I can see it and I could feel it. I could see it, visually see it. But I know, and certain things have been shown to me. But all I know I'm going to stay true to myself, and I'm not
Yeah,
going to
and
change
that's
for no one.
yeah, and that generation skipping trust that Norm's talking about in the chat down there. Um, see, that's the legacy inheritance that we're supposed to be passing on, and just like we saw with what's his name earlier in the first video, um, Shaquille O'Neal, when he was doing that business thing setup that he does, however you end up doing it, it's a matter of, like I said, bringing in those 2 or 3 witnesses, because that's what the next generation is. See, when we create children as offspring, we usually don't do it just one child at a time. In our natural life, we generally produce many children. It's
And I
only
would do son
because
and
of
daughter.
society. It's only because of societal um, uh, psychopathic type thinking that we cause ourselves to limit because of technology. See, the gathering of people in these tight knit communities where technology allows us to get tighter and tighter, so we don't even have to go outside of our home. We can sit on these devices, and our homes can become tiny homes. That's sick. That's a sickness. We were told to go out and multiply and spread upon the earth, not to congest ourselves in these tight little knits of balls of insanity. So the generation skipping tax is in that respect And that's one of those tactics I've mentioned before, that when I was doing my own sales and marketing, I was an independent contractor, and to um, follow equity, equity follows the law. So if they're doing it in their commercial system to be righteous, if they want to make the accusation that I owe taxes, if you want equity, you must first come with equity. So I paid my taxes to someone and had receipts on that in my contracts as 10% of the full pull. So it was already contracted, and the IRS can't step in as a third party intervener and try to force another contract. I already had a private contract. All you got to do is be equitable, people.
Well, and you can
So,
actually utilize the IRS to enforce that stuff. They'll walk you through probate. They'll even
yep.
foreclose on themselves for you because
Yeah,
they're the indentured trustee. They're they're
that's what I'm
basically
getting
the
ready to
protector.
do, is initiate this forensic accounting. Have it all done so that,
Look into that private letter ruling that I told you about.
yep, I already did.
Yep. Yeah, you like it? It's good, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I talk about with the birthright. You have to make a memorial when your children are born in order for them to recognize something that supersedes what they've done that is following the law. And that's that
Except
birth
for
register.
memorials are
That's
strictly
that,
for dead. Memorandum is a word I've found that tends to be a little bit better.
and the memorial is an extension of those that came before us. I know very well what I'm talking about. It's the legacy. It's the legacy.
I found on a right, and I found actually on an archives in the National Archives. I'll try to put a link in the chat. It was on the kids section or tab about ancestry, right, and genealogy, and they gave all these different kinds of family trees, like examples that you can use, which is actually supposed to be in a manorial roll. The front facing is a manorial roll, which is what
Right.
everybody else sees. Nobody else sees the private side. They only see the front facing, that family tree. And
Right.
that's what they see is basically that pictograph. But it was interesting the different kinds they had.
That's the same concept. That's the same concept with the registry in the family Bible. That's private, folks. You know what? They don't need last names in those registries, except when it comes to the marriage, the wedlock. And that's for the cultural background.
Yep, in nay, and you'll see it in parentheses and says NEE, nay, and then the maiden name. Yep.
You guys really need to do your research and find out this patronymical legal name bullshit is the problem. It's a confusion that nobody really comprehends too much because nobody's ever taught about it. I mean, the simple fact that if you learn that a United States business means a United States citizen, and therefore in reason and logic, that a United States citizen means a United States business, you might rethink what that birth certificate is doing and everything. Again, same thing with resident.
CGI actually refers to themselves as a corporate citizen. I found that very interesting.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. It's a body orate citizen. It's telling you the oration. It's the democracy. You understand that?
Yep.
AI is running on a democracy. It's going to give you 51% that gets the vote. That's how it works. That's based on your.
Well, and I found those too. At least with the systems that are still completely automated and not so much AI powered, but even the AI powered ones, if you're hitting all that, like if you're submitting paperwork or anything and it's going to an automated processing system, or you have it directly emailed or mailed through their online lockbox, that email address, whatever, they'll process it automatically as long as they can check off all the check marks. It's kind of like when you bring in, I used to take.
As long as it goes through the blockchain, right?
Yeah, well,
It's an electronic transfer. It's got to be blockchained. That's why electronic funds transfers are guaranteed. It's the only system that's got an actual chain of title. that will show you every link, all time-stamped and all securitized. And when it comes to the tribe, the birth certificate is not a security, but it is evidence of one. Actually, it is a bond which you can then securitize by providing evidence of its value that needs to be securitized. Its value is an indebtedness to the United States. You, an individual who owes a debt to the United States. Well, if the name and number identify, if the individual's name and number identify the record, then it's the record that owes the debt to the United States. Again, sue the record. I don't know how else to tell it. Anyway, let's get back to it, because the next one is, let's see, what was it? Oh, yeah, the wonderful story of doing an investigation, you know, kind of makes you wonder what's on these people's minds when it comes when they react and have interactions with different people. Listen to the insanity of this next story, folks.
This is the very moment officers let a killer walk off just prior to discovering a body in the trunk of her car.
We got a body. All right.
Law enforcement out of Orono, Minnesota began receiving phone calls about a woman driving erratically with the front tire completely missing. And when they had finally pulled her over, they also noticed her back windshield had been smashed out. I mean, there was glass all over the interior. But more importantly, there were spent shotgun shells on the floorboards as well as the back seats and a substantial amount of blood. To which
I'm missing a tire because some kids were shooting at my car. I had some.
What looks like blood in there?
It's not blood, it's deer meat. I had a big bag and there's a farm around here that does deer meat and hamburgers.
It was.
I don't care who else you are. And I don't know what this woman, where Orono, Missouri, or wherever, Minnesota, whatever it was, what kind of community this is, or whether these police actually know this woman or what. But I'm pretty sure if I was caught up in that situation, you're not going anywhere, sir. We got to investigate.
At that point, they told her, look, I'm sure you already know this, but we got to tow your car. However, you don't need to be here for that. You can go ahead and go. But just a few minutes later, they made the gruesome discovery. Turns out this woman, Jalissa Thaler, had driven her son out to a state park the night before, where she then took his life using a firearm while he was still strapped into his car seat. This is the very moment officers let a killer walk off.
Now, I don't know if people have these pre-contended ideas, but it shows me clearly that when you let people use their own discretion rather than making sure that they know absolutely what they're doing and that they are fully competent to be able to even use discretion if it comes to that. And granted, she was an easy catch. But like I said, if it was somebody else, would they be so easy? What is it that in their psychopathy, allows them this kind of information, cognizable, very cognizable, what would this is one of those ones that's just got me so confused when it comes to these officers that think they have to stop somebody with a camera versus letting somebody go that just killed somebody, particularly their own child, simply because, we're going to investigate, but you can go ahead and go. Why is it they stop people with cameras and all of a sudden it's an investigation and they're going to investigate the guy with the camera? This is sick.
Well, and that's the whole thing. The SARS report, which is what they actually use to report on, is suspicious activity report, right? It says it right there, suspicious activity. I would constitute that much more as suspicious activity than a freaking camera.
Absolutely. That's what I mean. This is just utterly ridiculous. And how insane can it be? It's, my God.
But a lot of that too has to do with the training. There's one thing I actually found in the IRS just recently. It's actually it's a complaint and a penalty for schools that train their people poorly.
Yeah, and that's when we make claims against these people in the force, we should be letting that go up the chain and including the guy that trained them. But the only way we can do that is we've got to question the officer about his training and be specific in knowing what that training is supposed to be and finding out what he says it is. Because if he tells us,
so you could just get.
If he tells us that the trainer is training in this manner and that goes against the training standards, then you can take it to the training guy and hold him accountable. But if it's the officer that's misconstruing the training and its methods, then you can't hold the training officer. Training guy. You got to hold the officer. It goes to their liability.
I think you'd have to go through the post manual first, or the training manuals that they're using first, right? And figure out if there is any information that's being, misconstrued or just simply.
That's why I said you got to
BS.
know their training standards first. Then you can question them as to that. And then if the training manager is still culpable because the officer was following those training the way he was managed, then you can hold that training manager liable.
And you know who actually puts together most of those training manuals and modules, and for Post and all the other entities?
Fired cops.
AAMBA, which is a private NGO, and you can sue private NGOs really easily because they can't go into court.
Yeah. See, and it's funny how they can't go into courts, but we're not supposed to be in those courts, but we get dragged into them. See, that's the funny thing, folks.
Well, and they're also very big and influential in the statutes that are being passed and all the regulations and rules and all that kind of stuff, but yet they have no standing in court.
Yep. Greetings, Imperium Private.
Greetings. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Your mic is always like an echo tin, a tinny echo. Are you in like a small room or something?
Somewhat. It's probably 10 by 11. I'm not sure if there's maybe it's a software that's on the mic or something.
Yeah, it might be. Anyway, we're going to get back into this. I'm glad to have you on board. Unless you got something to say real quick. Or Iman's up. What do you got, sister?
The question that I have, are these police officers, because I just saw a video recently, and they were saying they have paid officers that are paid through whatever organization that they're working for. And then they also have these officers, they're not paid, but they can get their own equipment, they can get their own badges, they can get that stuff, and they can
No. I don't know who's telling you that kind of fucking bullshit. They got to take an oath.
Well, yeah. They said
these
people,
and they can't be standalone.
Okay, so who are they? Are they considering ops or operation? And what is an op?
I don't know. I know that I call them illegal, unlawful.
So would that be illegal and unlawful? Because from what I'm researching, it talks
They're supposed
to be private mercenaries.
Yep, they're supposed to be operating under a public trust. No other way.
But aren't people in costumes? If people are in costumes, can't they perpetrate to be who they are and they're not? Just because they have some
and you would have to prove that
relationship?
Yes, and you would have to prove that, but you cannot keep presuming that shit.
No, I'm not presuming it. I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. I'm not presuming anything. I'm just asking a question because, and I'll try to locate that video and send it to you. But I'm saying these are questions that I'm asking. I'm not presuming. I can't assume and presume anything because I don't know. I'm just doing research, and this is what information that was, just put out there recently. So I'm just
Okay,
asking
yeah, I wouldn't.
questions.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to. That's what I said earlier. I wouldn't try to look at it from a perspective of questioning whether it's this or that. I would just simply research and find out exactly what it is. If there's somebody running around with a fake uniform and a fake badge, I would be doing some research, find out exactly who they are, what they're doing, and turn that motherfucker in. I'm a snitch, and I'm a snitch to God. And God tells me, "You shall not lie against your brother." That's a lie.
Well, that's what I work on, Chris, every day. Every day I work on searching and finding the truth. But again, they have me in a situation where it's limited for me to, I told you, a lot of stuff of mine's come up either where it's not being transmitted and I see stuff coming back. I see where stuff is a lot of documents that I'm created to get things out are not, being able to be transferred through the way they need to. There's a lot of stuff I'm seeing no one else is seeing, and when I ask other people if they're seeing what I'm seeing, they look at me like, what are you talking about? And it's even
Well, yeah, I
the
know.
situation when I'm communicating with you sometimes, and just like I said, I sent you information, but I never get a response back. So I know, and I'm not manifesting it. I know, and I'm seeing it with my own eyes. Things are happening. I know
Listen,
that for a fact.
and listen, guys, I really do appreciate you talking with stuff, but I get so much email that I can't just do it all. People send me all kinds of videos and codes, a lot of codes that I already know. I've already done a lot of that research, so I do appreciate it, and I do look into them, and I do correlate them with things. But if they don't really make much in regards to what I'm looking at for myself right now, it's just going to be a side note, and I apologize for that. But I do get your emails. I just don't all respond to every last one of them. I just don't have time. So I do the best I can. In the meantime, on the other side of the counter, when it comes to investigating, sometimes their investigation is just so fucking outright stupid that they expose themselves rather than what we saw in the last video where they couldn't figure out and expose what was right before their eyes by doing a simple investigation and holding the lady there. Oh, no, you can go. This one here, again, like I said, with cameras.
Filming near a police station, documenting the poor state of the U.S. law enforcement. This activity is protected by the First Amendment, ensuring anyone can film in public as part of freedom of journalism. But obviously, the whole police station had to stop by and pick on him, including these super undercover cops who blew their own cover and then whined about their cover being blown. It doesn't get any better than this.
Get ready. Pay attention.
I mean, detained or anything?
Going to ask these guys for their ID. They're going to ask the cameraman for ID, right?
You're not being detained. Who are you?
I'm a journalist gathering content for a story.
What kind of story?
Just a story I'm working on.
What's the name of your story? What company do you work for? What's your name?
Good. How are you?
Good. Who do you work for? We kind of work in an undercover capacity. We don't need this car photographed. I'll put all over the news or whatever.
We don't need this car photographed. Get yourself some fucking cloaking weapon then. You're a goddamn public servant, you fucking pigs cunts. Excuse my language.
It's public, so I mean.
Oh yeah, I got you. You're one of those guys, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got you. You're one of those guys. No, you're one of those guys. You're the Karen that doesn't want to be on camera. So you're going to come from all the way across a football field just to tell somebody you don't want to be on camera. You're going to come all the way over from another park bench somewhere to tell somebody you don't want to be on camera. You're going to come all the way out of your house to tell somebody across the street to quit filming your house. You people are ignorant. The next one is about Dalton. Check this out, folks.
Did you know that by giving to our campaign earlier rather than later?
We've got WGN News is suing Dalton for refusing to release spending records. See, when they do an FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, and they fail to comply, they're going to sue. And guess what? What they're doing is they're suing the record. They're suing to bring forth that record. Again, that's the only solution. The only thing you really need to solve anything is to bring forth the record and settle the matters once and for all.
Now,
otherwise, they remain a presumption.
On our investigation into Tiffany Henyard's leadership in the South Suburbs, WGN is suing the village of Dalton for refusing to follow open records laws and release spending records. Last year, WGN Investigates sent Dalton an open records request seeking copies of the agency's credit card statements, as well as records relating to Mayor Henyard's compensation and the cost of her taxpayer-funded vehicle. But Dalton has declined to release the documents. After WGN Investigates appealed, Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul's office ordered Dalton to release the records by mid-March, but that deadline came and went. WGN is now asking a judge to order Dalton to comply. The lawsuit was filed this week in Cook County Circuit Court. Mayor Henyard's publicity agency has not provided a comment.
Of course not. Of course not. Don't want any bad publicity. Can't speak on that. Can't speak on that. No, 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 no. The next one's funny. Serious. And again, on that same thing, your First Amendment, freedom of expression. As long as you're not causing a disturbance.
Protesting in a public space, exercising his First Amendment right to free speech. Then this cop appears and blows things up. Luckily, another cop sees this and schools his own colleague.
Would you mind lowering it for me? I don't want it used as a weapon against me, okay?
I'm not going to use it as a
Would you
weapon.
please? Would you please lower it down for me? I need your ID, please. I need your ID also, please, sir. Okay, I'm going to place you under arrest then.
You're not placing me under arrest. You have no right to ask for anything.
Come here.
And he boogies. He boogies.
All right, taser. He is under arrest. He's under arrest.
For what?
For trespassing and for disorderly conduct.
Not disorderly conduct. What the fuck is wrong with you?
When he's in front of the business,
That's not public property. Freedom of speech. Relax.
and he refused to give me his ID, which he's required to do.
For what?
So I could issue him a citation for trespassing.
It's not trespassing.
The guy doesn't get it. His commanding officer just told him it's not trespassing. But he didn't give me ID so I could write him a citation. For what? Trespassing. Again, it's not trespassing. Don't you get it? This is how dense people are. He just got done telling him it's not trespassing. And his response was, but he didn't give me his ID. He refused to give me his ID so I could write him a citation. For what? Trespassing. This is fucking redundancy left and right, folks. They don't know the law, nor do they know reason and logic because they're caught up in their emotions and can't remember what they just fucking said and what they were told in return. No, that's not trespassing. So caught up in his emotions, won't even listen to his boss. Fucking ridiculous, people. Next one.
Remember the story of the 16-year-old kid who was suspended for using the term illegal alien in the classroom? I mean, how could you forget that story? Well, the parents...
And this is why I urge, one of the reasons why I urge people to take their children out of these schools. Your children are not going to get a proper education like they need if they're distracted by asking qualified questions, and instead of getting a qualified answer from the right person, that right person allows somebody else in their feelers to interject and disrupt, and then equate the disruption to the guy that asked the question. This is the insanity of having all these different dogmatic cultures being brought into a classroom. Pay attention.
Of the 16-year-old student are suing the school board for suspending their kid. In case you missed it, just a little recap. A student named Christian McGee was suspended from his North Carolina high school and smeared as a racist after he asked a question about the word alien during a vocab exercise. He was assigned the vocab word alien and then asked his teacher for clarification, like space aliens or illegal aliens with green.
As in context of the use of the term alien that can be construed in many ways. I, myself, am alien to my neighbor.
Green card, where are we going with this? This prompted rage from a peer about the use of the word illegal alien and ultimately led to Christian getting suspended. Now the parents are suing the school district because this poor kid faced so much bullying for that question that they had to pull him out of the school. That's insane.
Good. No. What's insane, yeah, it is insane. And what's insane about it is the fact that he was in that school to begin with. And a bright intellectual known as a teacher would allow such a disruption and not clarify that he had a very good question as in accordance to the assignment. The hell is wrong with people? Again, folks, I'm telling you, this is across the board. A majority of the population, as I see it, in my opinion, are fucking socialized psychopaths. Hitler's willing executioners. Only willing to do their job and not look into the moral aspects of what that job is doing. Sickening. And here's a good one. I always talk about the everything's military. We have a military government, folks. Everything is military. The hospitals, the schools, your recreation, for crying out loud. Everything is military commerce.
The retired four-star admiral, once the #2 officer in the Navy, arrested on bribery charges.
Navy admiral being arrested for bribery charges into this Admiralty Maritime Territorial Jurisdiction shit. Corruption's all the way to the top. The only way to fix it is educate all the way to the bottom.
He's accused of doing. Here's Martha Raddatz.
He is a retired four-star admiral, the #2 position in all of the Navy. But this morning, Admiral Robert Burke was arrested at his home in Florida on bribery charges for allegedly directing a lucrative government training contract to a private company that promised him a $500,000 annual salary.
So as we were talking about the police and their fake badges and fake uniforms, this is the same fucking thing. That's treason by a military commander. It's not bribery. It's treason. In my opinion. Of course.
Plus stock options after retirement. Prosecutors say the bribery scheme happened over a 2-year period from 2020 to 2022, at a time Burke commanded thousands of U.S. forces as head of naval operations in Europe and Africa. The indictment says that within months of his retirement, Burke went to work for the company and received his $500,000 salary. The U.S. Attorney's Office saying Admiral Burke not only used his public office and his 4-star status for his private gain, but tried to cover it up by falsely implying he had no role in awarding the contract. Admiral Burke has not yet been arraigned, so he has not yet entered a plea. David?
Mark the Rat is reporting from Washington. Thanks, Mark.
Oh, isn't that convenient? Just talking about the insane asylum going on. Socialized psychopathy, brother. Now we got Nick Freitas up, another one of my favorites. You guys know that? Oops. Don't know what happened there. Let me get my video back. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, let me get my screen back. And this is Nick Freitas on how propaganda really works.
Came across a very interesting author. His pen name is Theodore Dalrymple, and he worked as a psychiatrist within the British National Health Service and the prison system for like decades. He said something like this. He goes, when he was studying propaganda in communist societies, what he found was that the propaganda was not designed to try to convince or inform people. It was designed to humiliate. And so therefore, the less it corresponded with reality or the truth, the more effective it was. Because if you could actually get your population to be quiet or to repeat things that they knew were obvious lies, you actually erode their ability to actually discern from truth and falsehood. And that essentially that would create the sort of society of emasculated liars that was easy to control. And then he finished it off by saying that he believed political correctness was designed for the same reasons and the same purpose.
Designed for the same reasons and the same purpose is what he believes, and that's what I believe. And I believe it's showing exactly that. Like I said, we are slowly becoming Hitler's willing executioners, a socialized psychopathy encompassing a very large majority of the population, again, in my opinion only.
Do you believe that you were an ally for the 1,878 soldiers who were fired, or the 3,746 Marines who were fired for not taking the COVID shot? Were you an ally for them?
So you mean selective service is a job and that it's actually backed as a contract, which is arbitrary, meaning that you can't just come in and make changes one-sided and make them mandatory, that you have to give equal consideration? Some people are just stupid.
Sir, I followed the laws. They disobeyed Or did the they law? feel included?
They disobeyed the law. No, you made a mandatory contract term that is in violation of law, sir. You are the one that violated the law of the contract, which is arbitrary, not mandatory.
They disobeyed a law.
They were fired.
They were fired because they disobeyed
Do you
the
regret
law.
that? Do you
They were fired because you made a new contract term and gave them no option. This is why we have what's known as a grandfather clause.
Regret that?
You can make such contract changes for people that come into the association after that contract term is changed or amended. But you can't mandatorily make
Did you
others.
know? Do you believe that you were an ally for the?
You can't mandatorily make others that were already in contract do it regardless without any consideration.
Sir, I followed the laws. They disobeyed.
Well, did
the
they
law.
feel included?
They disobeyed a law.
They were fired.
They were fired because they disobeyed.
Do you
the
regret
law.
that? Do you regret that?
Currently existed. I have no regrets.
You have recruitment challenges. You
You know what,
refuse to.
Senator?
You refuse to admit that DEI is a part of this. You're firing qualified people who are well trained, and you sit here so smugly to act like none of that has any impact on the readiness of our Navy.
Senator, we recontacted 3,500 of the 4,800 people who were fired. You know how many actually decided to come back to the Navy?
I don't care. I don't care. You already proved yourself willing to violate their rights. Why would they want to go back? This is fucking insane thinking, folks.
How many?
Two.
Shocker.
Two.
Shocker at the level of disrespect they receive from their government. Do you believe?
Shocker. No, it's not. No, it's not. This has been going on for decades. Agent Orange, come the fuck on. Anybody disagree with me so far? Okay, I didn't think so. Here's another disgusting one, and another perfect reason for taking your children out of these damn schools.
Next up, Jay McDonald in person. Evening. So I'm Jay McDonald. I'm here to talk about diversity, inclusion, and equity. So we hear so much about diversity, inclusion, and equity, and how it's one of the main thrusts, main objectives of the school board and the school district. We don't often see specific examples of what diversity, inclusion, and equity looks like, though. So today I brought.
What he's talking about here is that affirmative action for all these transgender, gays, homosexuals, feminist rights, and civil rights people in these classrooms at schools, and the inability of teachers to be able to keep that aside and teach the fucking curriculum. So through diversity, equity, and inclusion, they're trying to include these people, and in so doing, they think they have to bring forth materials in the school so that everybody else can learn about their psychology. That's not what the fucking schools are about. Keep your fucking psychologies to yourselves by keeping your children out of these schools.
An excellent representation. This is like the archetype of diversity, inclusion, and equity material that it's one of the books that was just recently purchased for our libraries. It's in Romig and Bartlett. It's called Let's Talk About It by Erica Moen. So it's got one of the chapters in here is about sexting. And I'll just read some of the text here. So before you start sending your naughty masterpieces around the world, take some time to get friendly with photo editing software and apps. Digital photos are permanent and impossible to retract once they're out there. So keep your recognizable features out of them before you share them. This is a book for kids. Don't forget to crop out your face.
What they're doing through diversity, equity, and inclusion is trying to invite these children into adult platforms online. The online platform is not for your children to be socializing. Outside in the neighborhood with the other neighborhood kids is where that's supposed to be done. Again, the internet brings in that dogmatic set of principles from other cultures and other politics, and your children don't need to be involved in that stuff yet. Give them their proper education yourself. Teach them what that stuff is about first before just letting them run loose like a dog in a fucking field.
Hide your birthmarks and scars and edit out your piercings and tattoos. And don't forget to tell your sweetie how hot they look. Let them know you appreciate the.
While I admit a lot of this is good information, but what it is enticing information for children to help them feel safe when they're not.
gift. They've sent you, Mr. McDonald. Yes, I'm going to interrupt you at this point. It sounds like you have a concern about a book. I'd be glad to get connected to the superintendent or their team to go through the appropriate process. I'd appreciate if you don't interrupt my time. Mr. McDonald, I've asked you to defer to the superintendent and their team if you have a concern about a book. We have a procedure and a process and a team ready to assist you if you'd like.
Mr. President, I don't think he's violated any rules. I mean, he hasn't used pornography. I mean, he hasn't shown any pornography. He hasn't shown any bad words. Words.
Mr. Donnelly, you can overrule the ruling of the chair if you'd like. It's my determination that we should ask Mr. McDonald to go through the appropriate process.
Well, I understand suggesting that to him, and I think that's fine, but I don't think he said anything that would cause us to cut off his testimony at this point.
I think.
Yeah, see, that's what he's doing here. He's trying to cut off the testimony. See, he's got a very valid complaint, and he needs the heads of agency to know what he's doing and why. So yeah, admittedly, he can take it to somebody else, but you people need to know as the principal what I'm doing so that it's not biased. I'm giving you notice.
I think we have a past precedent in this boardroom which would support my ruling. You're welcome, and I support your right to appeal the ruling of the chair, sir.
Well, yeah, I would appeal the ruling of the chair based on that. I haven't heard anything that specifically violated our current rules for public testimony.
Understood. Okay. Is there a second? I'll second. Okay. I don't believe there's a debate, so we would go straight to a vote whether we're going to uphold the ruling of the chair. Ms. Foster, can we have a vote? A yes vote would be to uphold the ruling of the chair. A no vote would be to sustain or overrule, I suppose.
Member Higgins?
Yes.
Member Donnelly?
No.
One no.
President Bellamy? President Bellamy, I think you're muted.
All right, yes.
Thank you.
One no, two yeses.
Member Holloman?
No.
Member Lessons?
Two no's, two yeses.
Yes.
Two no's, three yeses.
Member Wilson? Yes.
Two no's, four yeses.
And Member Jacobs?
Yes.
Two no's, five yeses. 5 people voted yes. Don't tell me it's not a majority, folks. These are community leaders doing this because their feelers have to go to a vote about whether this man should be able to testify as according to the rules already stated. And they're going to deny his testimony because they're feelers and put it to a vote and deny him through their socialized psychopathy. Their insanity. These people belong in an insane asylum.
By a vote of 5 to 2, the ruling is upheld. So, Mr. McDonald, if you have any other items to testify on, you're welcome to do so. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I keep getting cut off when I just read these books that are there's still purchase orders out for these books. Like they're not old things that were just put on the shelves to rot. Like they're things that you're actively procuring, putting in class. The first book that I read, I'm going to bring some of the FOIA documents that I have next time I'm in here. But there's teachers that are actually using it on their reading list in their classroom as part of their class material. So I don't want to hear that we're not giving this to kids. I was at the police department today and I was talking to them about this. And what it comes down to is there's a gray area where they
see when it comes to the diversity, equity, and inclusion in these public schools, what the cry is the moms and dads of these children who are allowing it are wanting their children to be included in this public education system. Fine. Fine. If you don't want your children around that kind of shit, be reasonable and take them out. That's what those schools are for. Bitch-ass slaves that want to sell their children to Baal.
Say that, because you got to understand that distribution of indecent and pornographic materials to minors is a Class C felony. I hope that people understand that. So if there's the argument that, well, it's loosely covered by the First Amendment, and that's what you're doing, that's what you're hiding behind to get this to students in school, then how can you say I don't have First Amendment rights to just read this to adults at a school board meeting?
Perfect point. See, that's the insanity. They're pushing their First Amendment right while violating this man's First Amendment right to correct the shit. How insane are these people?
Is it or is it not a First Amendment issue? I don't understand how it's appropriate for kids and it's not appropriate for the school board. I didn't even say a bad word. It feels a lot like you don't want parents to be seeing what's given to the kids. You're happy to give this to children. I've seen you, I mean, you even host reading times on the weekends. What's your reading list when you host reading time on the weekends with Felix? You're happy to give these books to kids. It seems like you're terrified to give them to parents. And I think it's an absolute travesty that you cut off my time and don't even let me have my 3 minutes. I think you're breaking your own rules. Thank you.
I don't think they're breaking their own rules. I goddamn well fucking know it. Anybody got anything on that? All right, well, we'll go on to the next one. Again, when there's a reasonable, logical way of doing things, and it's actually outlined, and there are laws for it, and you expect other people to follow those laws, you should show them by example. This is one of our examples, folks.
Blocking a crosswalk as well as the disabled person's. This guy saw a police van parked illegally in an intersection, blocking a crosswalk as well as the disabled person's walkway, literally violating 2 laws at once, the state traffic law and the Americans with Disabilities Act. So our guy decided to ask the cops to move the van. Can you guess how it went?
Could you guys please tell me why we can't get that van moved? You already got your complaint form?
So all they got to do is move it, right? And I'll be damned if a fire alarm wouldn't go off and a fire truck need to pull up to that shit. They'd be moving it. Why? Because they're supposed to. They're not supposed to be parked there to begin with. That is the solution. That's all we're saying. Move it. Don't be ignorant, say the law is for me and not for thee. That's why people are getting pissed.
Go fill out your complaint form. End of story. We're done. Why can't you just move the van? We're done. That's your answer. You got your complaint form. Why are you so upset? Don't.
This guy is getting more worked up in his fucking emotions than the work it would take to just get his fat ass over there, get in that goddamn police vehicle, and move it. This guy's going to cost the city thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Bill, man. I ain't yelling at you. Right. I want to make sure you hear everything I have to say. You got my answer. So you're not going to move the car? You got your complaint form. Go fill it out. Goodbye. Why don't you get one of your officers to move the van that's parked there illegally? It's not happening.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
It's not happening. It's not happening. This is actually comical. I'm glad you guys are here.
Yeah, I'm glad you think it's fucking funny. See, in my opinion, again, from a public official, a commanding officer, this is sedition. It's getting sicker and sicker out there, folks. We got to get better and better. And with that, what do you guys got on the way out, folks?
Well, Keith, the only thing I'm going to say is that, like I've always said, it is what it says. I know I see things maybe differently than other people. Maybe the Most High is showing me things. I'm just being an observant woman. And, you know, I know what I know. I know what's going on. I know what's, you know, being prevented. But every day I petition the Most High for all truth to come out for all people. That's the only way things are going to be resolved. And there's, you know, there's entities and there's people that are put in place to be, and I don't like the name gatekeepers, but that's what they use in this present time and space. So it is what it is. That's all I can say. That's why one has to be very careful, you know, with whom and they, you know, associate themselves with. At all times, you got to be watchful. It is what it is.
Yep. It is what it is. Absolutely. What about you, Imperium?
They're crazy out there. I'm actually dealing with a municipal court for a ticket, and I've been emailing them, and they don't respond to emails. They don't even check them. I went to the court of clerk, and they said, "Oh, we don't even look at our emails." And I was wanting to send certified mail and registered mail, except my printer for my ink was out.
Folks, get yourself a email tracker app.
I have.
Then use your email tracker, and I guarantee you they're opening it. They're looking at it. That email app, when
I
you
haven't
use
got
that,
any responses.
doesn't matter if you don't get any responses. Use the tracker app. Figure out how to use it so you can go in and see when they're opening it, who they share it with, and how many times it gets opened. It'll tell you exactly what time they open it. I see people open my shit sometimes at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. They're so worried about it.
It's crazy because they don't even follow. Well, the shit doesn't even apply in the first place. But yet, they gave me an erroneous ticket, even if it was according to their laws. And they still don't follow their laws. It's wild out there.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, guys, we are done tonight. And you guys
I
know
have
me.
another question, Keith.
Okay.
You guys were talking about the name earlier. And under common law, you can always proclaim or declare a name for yourself and not use
So I say I don't
the
have
Social Security card name.
When they ask me what my name is, and they ask me if my name is Keith Little, no, that's not my name. Mom and Dad gave me that name. That's their name. It belongs to them. I only let other people use it.
But they always try to attach something to that first and last name.
Yeah, and that's why I always
date of birth.
That's why I always correct them now. I will not allow them to use that legal name unless it's required and it's for my benefit.
Because also too, what's your opinion on just using a new name?
Absolutely.
Or if
why
not
I
calling it, if not calling it a Christian name, and actually putting it in your Bible, like the family Bible definition of your Black's Law.
That's why I call myself El Hotep Second We Peril. That's my name. That's the name I created. That's my name. Same with Paul Jr. and all those other those are my names. The Keith Little, as that's constructed, depending on what the grammar is, still isn't my name. I didn't create that. That was created by somebody else. He who creates controls. This is why I said when they give you that first given name and the second given name, the first given name is the one that you're supposed to use when we're a child. And then when we get the age of majority, then we can bring out the middle name that nobody else knew. They all knew me as Keith when I was a child. When I became a man, I was supposed to start using Orland. Nobody's ever taught me this shit.
Correct.
Had to learn long after the fact.
And I think the issue a lot of people come into is that they want to use their name within commerce instead of creating other persons and using other persons to be within commerce.
Well, I just had an issue today with one of the guys I'm working with. They refuse to allow him to do the DBA in his name. They're trying to say he can't use his name to do the DBA. The fuck you can't. But even if they want to argue it, then just put the title on the back of it, ESQ period, which stands for Esquire. And you are not an attorney at law. You are, in fact, the attorney in law, as your yay is your yay and your nay is your nay. When you learn the power of this, you don't let anybody talk wrong about you. You do everything you can to prevent them from getting away with it. You rise up against those judgments, and no tongue shall prosper against you. And that's the difference. Anyway, yep, and that all goes to correcting the record, folks. That's all we really need to do. In correcting the record, we have to know what we did wrong, correct ourselves, and then point it out. Hey, I've been an idiot all my life. Guess what I did? I don't know. What'd you do? Well, I was paying taxes all my life. Well, yeah. Well, here's the problem. It was voluntary. Oh, well, you did it voluntarily, didn't you? I said, well, in a sense, but only because I was indoctrinated to believe that I was required to. Same with Social Security. Same with a job. No, you're not required to get a job. If you know how to express your talents and your mom and dad do a good job teaching you as you're growing up to express those talents and all the other educational material that comes along with it, like reading, writing, and arithmetic, then so be it. And that's what you can do. You don't need to get a job at McDonald's. You got to do your thing as Job did. That's a big difference, folks. Anyway, with that, we are out. And you know me, folks. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. I say I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see you next time.